Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to take two of Late Night with Jackson and Austin. Minor technical difficulties on the movie set, but it's all good. We're here now. Hopefully, it's all fixed, and we're here to talk some football. So, without further ado, let's talk some football. But first, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Austin Williams for Sports Talk with Austin, and this is my splendid co host. Take it away.
Jackson Johnson, host of the Jacksonian, your friendly neighborhood co-host of College Football After Dark on The Voice College Football.
And boy, oh boy, what a day it was. We saw some big games, we saw some blowouts, and we saw some really close games. And one of the biggest games going into the day was the big noon kickoff. And we know why it was one of the biggest games. Not for the actual football played, because of what's going on at the University of Michigan. But with all that being said, there was indeed a game played. And once again, no shock here at all. 24-15, Michigan gets it done. And I would like to go ahead, Jackson.
I will say, all we heard constantly about was Jim Harbaugh this and Jim Harbaugh that. Is he going to coach this game? Is he not going to coach this game? And then we find out at 9 to 10 a.m., we find out, he's suspended for this game as well. He's not going to be able to coach the rest of the regular season. But my question is, will this be a big spark for the coaching candidacy of Sherrone Moore after today?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I mean, my thing is
yeah. I mean, it's just like, wow. I mean, he was pretty happy, for his team, and it was like a lot of his emotions took over, especially at the post game show, post game press conference where he was asked by the reporter, and oh man, but how about Blake Corum? Great game by Blake Corum right there. I mean, 145 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 26 carries. That's a great game in of itself. Great game. Great one. And, people said that McCarthy was trash. I'm like, come on, man. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You just don't do that. Come on. You just don't do that. Yeah, my partner in crime at the moment is dealing with the technical difficulties at the moment. He will be back momentarily. We also go over a little bit about the stats of Drew Allar. 10 of 22 completed passes and 1 touchdown, 70 passing yards. Oh man, it was just wow. An abysmal game by Penn State. And we see that Penn State was very inconsistent on third down efficiency. 4 of 14 on third down. What is your take on this, my man?
I will say, once again, Penn State, big moment, chance to show the world who they are and that they can compete in the Big Ten, and they come up short once again. Drew Allar and that offense was hounded all night, all day long. And the fact that Michigan didn't even have to throw the ball in the second half and they were just able to run it down their throat shows you that Michigan can beat you more than one way. If all this comes out as true that they did cheat and all that, they should get some type of punishment for all of this. But today was not about that. Michigan today showed that they were the better football team regardless of what you wanted to say of, whether they did or did not cheat or if they've been stealing signs, all that went out the window today. And
True.
Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, welcome to the party. They've had good seasons this year, but they really hadn't had their breakout games like they have in the past couple of years, and today they had their breakout games. And the Michigan O-line was able to punish Penn State's D-line. And once again, Michigan's defense rules the day. And what's really interesting is Drew Aller, that man, there was a lot of hype around him. And it just seems like in the big moments, he still can't get the job done. Like, Penn State is back to being the Penn State of the past 6-7 years. And you want to know something else, Jackson? A lot of people pick Penn State to go to the college football playoffs. I just want to know, what did they see in this team? Because the last two performances against Ohio State and Michigan, they're the same Penn State team they've always been. Michigan State, Penn State is gonna win their last two more than likely, go 10-2 and make a major bowl game and win that, and everyone's gonna be saying, Penn State, we're back, we're gonna beat you next year, just wait. Just like they did last year. And it's happened, It's happening again. It's a vicious cycle, Jackson. Well, what do you think on that for people that say Penn State is back and that they're going to go to the playoffs? What do you think of that?
Well, I mean, when people say Penn State is back, let's see what they can do against Michigan or Ohio State first. Then we'll talk. But the thing is, they're lucky that a 12-team playoff is coming next year, because they won't necessarily need to win the Big Ten or go 11-1. They just have to go at least 10-2. Perfect, right?
Yeah, perfect. And I will say this though. Jackson. It's very interesting because the 12-team playoff, what if, Penn State, they're a perfect team. If they go 10-2, an 8-4 conference champ may get in over them. And then Penn State fans will be complaining, this is not fair. We're 10-2. Our only two losses were to Michigan and Ohio State. Well, you should have won one of them still. And maybe they would have given you the chance, but oh no, you blew it. Go ahead though, Jackson.
Speaking of which, the SEC version of Penn State, right in front of us, the Ole Miss Rebels. How about them? What'd you think about this game between Ole Miss and Georgia? I mean, we're gonna cover a certain somebody that beat them that clinched the West, but what's your take on this game, my man?
Yeah, I thought at first I was first watching. I watched the first half of this and I was thinking, okay, Ole Miss, they're doing their thing. They go down, score, then they go down and score again, and it's 14-all. And I'm thinking, Ole Miss has a legitimate chance to actually win this thing. Like, Lane Kiffin may not blow it, but then Georgia's like, "Oh no, sweetheart, we're still Georgia." That's nice. That's a nice thought, but our defense is going to show you why we've won the Natty the past 2 seasons. And Jackson Dart just never got comfortable again. Junkins, Quinshon Junkins, or I think it's how you say his name, Junkins. Yeah. He never got comfortable. Junkins, yeah. He never got comfortable again, and it just seemed like once Jackson Dart threw those turnovers, it was like lights out. And now Ole Miss's season's still not lost. They could still make a major bowl game. So they're only 8-2. So they can still go 10-2 and maybe make a Peach Bowl possibly if things happen to fall their way. But as for Georgia, they did what they were supposed to do. They dominated. They took care of business. And now Georgia has got a date with Destiny. And Destiny, his name's Nick Saban.
That's for sure. And we got a yo, 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 yo from Traveling Fools and a yo, yo, yo to you too, Traveling Fools. Thank you for tuning in to tonight's late night recap of college football. You can also check out Traveling Fools as he's got an amazing channel. Go check it out. And you can also check him out on the post-game show of the Miami channel at the Miami channel of The Voice of College Football.
Yeah, thank you for stopping by, Traveling Fools. And we'll get to your Miami Hurricanes here in a minute. I know you don't want to hear about it, but we got to cover it. Go ahead, though, Jackson.
Well, we'll say, though, I wish Ole Miss had a shot at this game, but it's just they didn't. I mean, I think College Game Day made this trip for nothing to Athens, Georgia. They're just like, oh, we can't waste our time here.
Well, at least Lee Corso got to see the dogs again. I mean, that's always a plus, but
how about Kendall
they see what the game
and Dejon Edwards? I mean, and Andrew Paul. I mean, oh my God, that running game at Georgia, ooh, that's nerve wracking.
But I will say though, we have to highlight though that Georgia, even though they've looked that this is the first time I think all year they've looked the most dominant that they have. I mean, Missouri, if Missouri hadn't thrown those turnovers, could have a different result. And we'll see how they do against Tennessee next weekend, assuming Tennessee is still ranked. But this is probably the most impressive Georgia's looked all year. Would you agree, though, Jackson?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was happy to see Brock Bowers back from injuries. I mean, I'm glad he's recovering nicely. He needs all the recovery he can get. And speak of the devil, 1 touchdown, 34 receiving yards.
Yeah. But, Jackson, I wonder if Brock Bowers is going to be able to handle that Alabama defense, because Kentucky and Mark Stoops sure couldn't. Oh. Jalen Milroe had himself a day. I mean,
I
don't want
to. Mark Stoops was 1-17 against top 10 opponents. I wonder if it was going to continue again. Well, he's now 1-18. I mean, you got Milroe. He had a wonderful day. 36 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, 8 carries, 15 of 22 completed passes, 3 touchdowns, 234 passing yards. How about that for this young man? I mean, he's my player of the game for today as a whole. And to top it off, Bama clinched the West officially.
Yeah, they did. And I will say, I mean, Bama's looking like the Bama of old. I mean, they're not committing as many penalties. They're playing good, clean football. I will say this right now: if I'm Georgia, you're on a collision course with Alabama. But I can't wait to get to Atlanta. Because Bama, Georgia's going to be must-see TV. Because that more than likely is going to determine who goes to the playoffs and who goes home. So,
there you go.
But we can't jump the cat just yet. Bama's still got Chattanooga and Auburn. And Chattanooga, I don't think is going to be an issue. But Auburn may decide to spoil your season in a couple weeks. But as for Kentucky, though, good buddy, they're a team that starts off very hot and then they just fall downhill really quick. Why do you think that is?
I guess they really let that Florida game really go to their head. I guess they they don't do so hot against Georgia or the Georgias and the Alabamas of the world. They get one here and there against Tennessee. But Not this year, they don't. I mean, they certainly get their butts handed to them by Missouri. I mean, good grief. I mean, they start off 5-0, but now they're 1-4. They are officially the Syracuse of the SEC.
And you know something else too, Jackson? I'm not so sure they could go on the road to South Carolina and win. I mean, the Gamecocks are looking good now. They're looking good all of a sudden. Even though they beat Vandy, they still looked good. And Kentucky has had a history of blowing it against South Carolina.
Well, our friend Traveling Fool says Miami is on the right path. Well, they seem to have a pretty good future ahead of them. But not today. They didn't against Florida State, but they. It wasn't like last year where they got whipped. So,
well, I'm glad we're on the subject of Miami. Let's talk about Miami, shall we? Because they almost had it. They did. But you know, Miami's gonna Miami. I mean, Jackson. This reminds me. This Florida State season in general reminds me of the Jameis Winston years, where the year that they kept winning and winning and winning, and people kept saying, "How in the heck are you doing this?" Because they almost lost to BC. They almost lost to Miami. They routed LSU. It took overtime to beat Clemson. Florida State is a very Jekyll and Hyde team that keeps winning but cannot win one way or the other. You either win close or you blow people out. Florida State can't decide which one they want to do that week.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. With the Florida State-Miami rivalry, it's one of those rivalry games where you just throw the record books out. So, I mean, any other game, I can understand it. Like the Boston College game, I completely understand. But the Miami game, that's another time for another day to get on the Florida State for having a tight game.
I mean, true, but Florida State is a better team than Miami. And the fact that they played them so close, I get it, it's a rivalry. You throw it out the window. But if Florida State is everything that people say that they are, they need to win this game more convincing. Because let's be honest, like, I know you hold certain teams to certain standards. I get that. If this was, say, someone like a Virginia or not Virginia, but like North Carolina, Duke, and they won, you'd be like, okay, that was a good win. But for Florida State, we kind of look at it as, hey, you want to be considered one of the best with the Georgias, the Michigans, the Ohio States, right? You need to beat teams that are inferior to you. You need to beat them down and show everyone who you are. But like you said, rivalry games, emotions run high, and things can get very interesting very quick, which I understand that. But Florida State, I think, is a much better team than Miami. So the fact that it took them a last-second interception and stop to win is very telling. That's just how I look at it. Now, you may look at it as it's rivalry, like I've said, and things like this happen. You just throw it out the window, forget about it for now. But your take on it, though.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of figured this should be a little higher, but I was wrong. But kudos to Miami for keeping it close. But also congrats to Florida State to being one step closer to clinching the Florida Cup. And unfortunately, that interception by Tyler Van Dyke, I mean, that kind of just killed the momentum. You know, it kind of just got rid of any shot they had of winning.
But I will say, if you're still here, Traveling Fools, guess what? Next weekend, we're coming to Miami, and we're coming to kick some Cane butt. Good buddy. I want to let you know that Jack Plummer and my boys are coming to Miami, and we're coming to get that W. Looks like Jackson is on mute for a second. So while he's doing that, in all seriousness though, Miami Louisville next weekend should be fun. Hopefully we win. But now that Jackson's on mute, go ahead.
Yeah, Jordan Travis had a pretty good game. 19 of 31 completed passes, 265 passing yards, 1 touchdown. But Emory Williams, I mean, he had great passing yards, 2 touchdowns, with 175 passing yards, but one little problem. 8 of 23 completed passes. That's not good.
Yeah. That's very concerning. 8 of 23? That's not going to win you very many ball games. But I tell you what, though, Jackson. If Florida State keeps messing around, somebody's going to get them soon. Whether that be Florida in a couple weeks or whoever they end up playing in Charlotte. Hopefully, it's my boys in the Ville. Someone might catch them before they get to the playoffs. They're dancing with destiny. But speaking of the playoffs, good buddy, did you see what Ohio State did to Michigan State tonight? They acted like they owed them money. Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, go ahead, give him the Heisman. I mean, unbelievable. I didn't expect Ohio State to beat them down by this much. I was thinking Michigan State would put up a nice fight, but Lord have mercy. Ohio State. What did Michigan State do to deserve this? Jackson, did you catch any of this, or were you more paying attention to
I paid attention to some of the other games, but I will say Mr. Harrison had a pretty good day. 7 receptions, 149 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. Oh, and 1 rushing touchdown for 19 yards. Holy cow. 168 total yards. That's big.
Yeah, but I thought we'd give Ohio State a little shout out since they were the number 1 team in the rankings, and they wanted to make sure that the committee did not hesitate to keep them number 1 this week. But another team that, kind of showed out on this Saturday. Go ahead, Jackson.
I mean, the Buckeyes were 32.5 favorite. They won by 35. So if anybody placed a bet on Ohio State to beat the spread, well, today's your lucky day. As for those that placed a bet on Michigan State to beat the spread, that's a bad beat. Sorry for your good buddies that placed a bet on it.
Now, I will say, Jackson, we're talking about playoff teams. Washington, they keep finding ways to win, and they played a really good game against Utah. Michael Penix, a doomsday. Boy, oh boy. What a game that was.
That was for sure, but we got an update. Oregon is winning 29-14 against USC in the battle for the second spot of the Pac-12 title.
How'd you get that mixed with
So we got ourselves a motion for second spot, but we'll get to more on that in a minute after this game. We see that Mr. Bryson Barnes had a great game. 17 of 30 completed passes, 267 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 39 rushing yards, which unfortunately 306 total yards was not enough to save the day against Washington. But Michael Penix, 24 of 42 completed passes, 332 passing yards, and 2 touchdowns. And I must say, things got pretty crazy for a little bit.
Yeah, I will say though, I'm surprised Washington was able to run the ball the way they did on this Utah front seven. I figured if Washington was going to win this game, it was going to be more through the air. But once again, they were able to run the ball efficiently, and they were able to get the job done and get the W. I'm very happy for all the Washington fans, but very surprising that the Utah front seven didn't pose more of a threat than I thought. Thought that Washington kept Penix from having to throw so much.
Well, knowing that there's going to be some chaos in the Pac-12, Utah could still have a shot at the second spot. Washington, it's looking like they got that first spot all but clinched.
Now, I will say, though, there's an interesting play in this game that I want your take on, and everybody's taking the chat on. What do you think was going through that young man's mind when he picked off Bryson Barnes and he just dropped the ball at the 1 yard line? Well short. I mean, what was your thoughts watching that, Jackson? What were you thinking? Were you thinking, make sure you get across the pylon? What was your thoughts when you were watching that?
I was like, holy cow. That was pretty big.
And here's the thing. None of the Washington defenders got on it. They acted like he scored, did not pay a bit of attention. Like, do you think that was just them celebrating in the moment, or do you think it was just them not being coached up the right way? Like, hey, finish the play, and then once you get across, then you can drop the ball. Don't drop it halfway to the goal line. Or do you think that was just them in the moment and they lost track?
In the moment, they lost track.
But then Washington's defense got the safety, and then it basically didn't matter. But that could have been a huge turning point if Utah would have scored. I know, Jackson.
Oh, man.
I know if Nick Saban was down there coaching today, he would have had them running laps after practice over that. He does not.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Mr. Kalen DeBoer, I'm sure he had a word with the young man. Finish the play and then go celebrate. But, Jackson, the celebration is over in Colorado. Prime time is not having fun anymore. But Arizona is
going.
But Arizona, they are boogieing, Jackson. And I have to give you credit on this one. You did pick Arizona, I believe, to go 6-6 or 7-5 in the preseason. Shout out to you believing in them.
Well, I figured they'd be making a jump, which I'm sure a lot of people did. I just didn't think they'd be competing for a second spot in the Pac-12 title game. But how about Noah Fifita? 21 of 35 completed passes, 214 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Good grief.
Yeah. Arizona and Jedd Fisch, what a heck of a turnaround. I mean, Arizona hasn't been this good since I can last remember. And here they are, 7-3.
Well, the last time they had a really good season was 2014. That was when they went to the Fiesta Bowl, played in the Pac-12 title game against the Oregon Donald Duck.
And now the questions will begin to circle. What is wrong with Colorado? This is very disappointing. I had picked this team to go 7-5. Boy, was I wrong.
Well, as our friend of the show, Matt Zemet, editor of Trojans Wire at USA Today and co-host of Trojans Conquest and co-host of USC Football at The Voice College Football, said today, Colorado should have a lot of luck beating Washington State, but Utah, Good luck.
Yes. Bowl eligibility today would have been their best chance, and they didn't get it. And obviously, Travis Hunter, he's going to be back next year. He's only a sophomore, so he's got to come back. Shedeur, I believe he's coming back. I know Shiloh, I believe he's coming back too. Everybody, I think, is returning. Xavier Weaver. Now can Deion get some more talented recruits in there, fix that defense, fix the O-line up, and get things going again in Colorado. But not to take away from.
I wonder. I'm hoping. I don't know if we'll be able to see this game next year. Oh, yes, we will. We will see this game next year in Tucson, but as a Big 12 conference game.
How'd you get that?
Colorado's going to have this game written down on their calendar. They're not going to be forgetting.
Indeed, this is going to be one that they're not going to forget for a while. I believe Deion is going to look at all those games that he lost this year, and if he plays these teams again, you better bet your butt he's going to have them circle. But I will say this, though. Another team that is going to have another game circled, Oklahoma State. What in the blue moon are you doing? Do you not understand that you are in contention for the Big 12 title? And you were the team that beat Oklahoma in the last edition of the Bedlam. You were the team that had gone on this winning streak, and we were talking all good about you, all the hype, and then you do this to us. You're making us look like fools. Me and Jackson were buying the hype. We were on the Ollie Gordon train. Go ahead.
There is a little clip from episode 15 of the Jacksonian last week where I talked with Cody Stovall, the host of Locked On Oklahoma State, good friend of the channel and good friend of Sports Talk with Austin, by the way. We talked about how it would not surprise me if Oklahoma State won the Bedlam, but then lost to Central Florida. But knowing how Central Florida is, they'd be winning this game and everybody would act like it's the greatest thing ever. But because the thing about Malzahn is that they are he always leads the most Jekyll and Hyde teams ever. And today, Central Florida had their Jekyll moment. I mean, John Rice Plumlee. Oh my God. 11 of 18 completed passes, 299 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. My God, RJ Harvey, or should we just call him Hurricane Harvey? Good grief. I mean, 24 carries, 206 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. Kobe Hudson.
Yeah.
Kobe Hudson. 96 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. I will say if someone would have told me that UCF was going to beat Oklahoma State 45-3, I would have said, "Are you willing to put the farm on that?" Boy, oh boy, I would have lost the farm today because I did not have this in my score prediction. I believe I had Oklahoma State 34, UCF 28, I think, in my prediction, in my preview. I did not foresee this coming. I don't think anybody did. I figured this would be close because, Oklahoma State, they're coming off the big win. They might have a slow first half, and then they were going to pick it up. They had a slow first half and then some. They didn't come to life all day long, and then they were turning the ball over. This was just a classic hangover game. I mean, Jackson, we know hangover games, some people say that's just superstition. I disagree with them. They need to go watch the tape of this.
Oh,
this
God.
is the hangover game.
Oh, no. Alan Bowman. That's bad. That's bad.
Oh, Lord. I'm not even an Oklahoma State fan, and I'm just sad recapping this. I feel sorry for all you Okie State fans out there tonight and your sorrows.
Don't be sad, because they still have that head-to-head win over Oklahoma and Kansas State. And we're going to mention
that is true.
Look at the difference that makes.
Well, Jackson, speaking of Kansas, boy, oh boy, did they have an eventful afternoon. Boy, oh boy. Texas Tech. This is why we can't trust nobody in the Big 12, period. Because they do this to us.
I know, but the thing is, Mr. Bean got hurt today, so that was one of the reasons why Kansas lost. So I'm not going to criticize Kansas too much. I mean,
yeah, I hope he gets better, but
this was a game that was going to make. I felt like I was going to break down for a little bit from seeing them lose. I was like, no, they need a 10-win season. They need a 10-win season. They got to have something to celebrate other than college basketball. Come on, Kansas. Oh, good grief. Oh.
Well, they can still get a 10-win season if they win their bowl, but they just won't get a 10-win regular season.
I wanted to see them beat the preseason disappointment.
You know what's even worse about this, Jackson? I watched this entire game, and Kansas went down, tied it, and I was thinking, okay, let's see if their defense can get a stop. And what happens? They give up a 30-yard throw with 30 seconds left. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Kansas, this is such a sure thing to do. Really? A 30-yard bomb down the field? You let the receiver get behind you? I mean, Jackson, like, this is why you can't trust the Big 12. This is why they're going to get left out of the playoffs, because we'll get to Texas in a minute, but they almost ruined it there too.
I would not. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater in the Big 12 just yet, my guy. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
I mean, here's the thing, Jackson. We're waiting for Texas to throw the shoe out. Texas, we're just waiting on them now. You know it's going to happen, good buddy. I told it's going to happen. They're either going to do it against Iowa State or Texas Tech. It's going to happen. We just don't know when. Or in the Big 12 title game. Like, don't get me wrong.
There's a different Texas team. That's a team that beat Alabama and Tuscaloosa.
Okay. Trust me, I'm all ears. If Texas runs the table, I'll eat my crow. But the way that they've been messing with teams, something tells me they're going to blow it before they get to the championship game.
No, dude. They're not. They're not going to blow it. I will tell you right now. I mean, I get it. Iowa State's tough net Saturday. But one of my exhibits, let me show you Exhibit A, shall we? Why I think Texas can get the job done. I mean, I know that the final score is kind of sloppy, but they beat TCU. I mean, they got a history of not getting it done against TCU ever since TCU joined the Big 12. I mean, TCU's been 8-3. Now they're 8-4 against Texas.
Jackson, I appreciate your admire for Texas, but last week against Kansas State, they almost blew it. And tonight, they are so very lucky. Donald Mitchell, the former Georgia transfer wide receiver, they got so lucky because TCU's offense was in rhythm. Jackson, I get it. You want it to work out for Bama, but I'm telling you, they're going to drop the ball somewhere before the playoffs.
You think they're gonna drop the ball
they're
against
gonna drop.
Texas Tech on Black Friday?
It's either going to be Iowa State, Texas Tech, or the champ game. I guarantee you they will not be one loss. I won't say guarantee, but I will say more likely they will not be one loss going into the final playoff ranking. I have full confidence in that because Texas screws things up when you least expect it. All the hype is there. They're going to be like,
This is like
Texas is
Louisville
back,
all
baby.
over again. It's like Louisville in the whole season, where it's just like you're like, no, I don't see this happening. I'm like, you're gonna see great things with Jeff Braun, my friend.
You had to bring my team into it. This is about Texas and how Texas thinks they're back, which I'll give Texas credit. I believe this is a step in the right direction. I give them all the credit in the world. What they've done to this point is fantastic. I want Texas fans to I want Texas fans to understand real fast. I don't have any problem with Texas whatsoever. I will be okay if you win out and win the Big 12. I just don't trust them as much yet. I'm not rooting against you. I'm not any of that. I'm not that type of guy. Now, if my Louisville Cardinals, if we need y'all to lose, then I have to. But I don't mind y'all winning the Big 12. I have no problem with you guys. I like Texas. But it just seems like just waiting for the other shoe because this is what happens year after year. But maybe you're right, Jackson. Maybe they are a different team.
Oh, man. This is what we have so much fun on this late night show for sure. And speaking of a little fun, we see Iowa State having a lot of fun with BYU at the very moment. Ooh, scary.
Yeah. BYU is doing so good too, and then this happens. But I will say, I'm glad you're scrolling down that way, Jackson. Let's talk about Oklahoma, West Virginia for a minute. Let's give Oklahoma credit. They bounced back, and they looked good doing it. Now, I don't know if that was just because it's West Virginia, and West Virginia has a tendency not to play good, or if this was legitimate. Oklahoma was able to find a way back. Give me your take on it.
I think Oklahoma's finding their way back. I mean, Dylan Gabriel had a great game today. I mean, 50 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, 11 carries, 23 of 36 completed passes, 423 passing yards, and 5 touchdowns. Holy cow. 8 total touchdowns and 423 plus 50. That is 473 total yards as a whole. Kid is dynamic.
Yeah. I will say though, for Oklahoma though, this is impressive, but into context, it's West Virginia. I know if Joey Foster's out there watching, I mean, no offense by that, but we know West Virginia has no defense sometimes. And I think today was one of those days. But for Oklahoma, Jackson, do you see a path to the Big 12 title game, or have they lost too many tiebreakers?
Let's look at it, shall we? I mean, they have to win out against BYU and TCU, no doubt. And you see here are the Big 12 standings. Now, they don't play Kansas State, which on the one hand, that's a good thing, but on the other hand, that's bad. So what are they going to need? They're going to need Oklahoma State to lose against either BYU or Houston. Ta-da. They got to go to Houston next Saturday, and then they got BYU on rivalry week. So we got ourselves quite a fits for the Big 12. Now, would you like to hear about Kansas State?
Sure. Enlighten me. Is there a path for them?
Absolutely. Well, they smacked down the Baylor Bare Necessities today, 59-25. But of course, they have to win out against Kansas and Iowa State. Now, we don't know what they need from Oklahoma, but they definitely need some big wins because, I mean, TCU, Houston, Baylor, Texas Tech are not getting it done for you. But they got to beat Kansas, Iowa State, and they may need Oklahoma to lose another game. And they definitely need Oklahoma State to lose again.
Yeah. And while we're on these scenarios, Texas wins next week. Does Texas clinch a spot? Because as we could tell, they've only lost one game.
Yeah, because next Saturday they got Iowa State. They basically clinched the first spot. I mean, if they win, no doubt about that. But if Iowa State beats them, then they're out of national title contention. But we look at Iowa State. Let's look at them for a little bit. Right now, they're getting out the belt and giving BYU a spanking. So that's pretty ugly. They do have to win against Texas and Kansas State. So if you win out the rest of your regular season, you're in Ames, Iowa. And to think everybody wanted you out of there, Matt Campbell. I mean, good grief. I mean, I still get mad about people that wanted him out.
Yeah. But I will say, though, we have some more interesting scenarios, not just within the Big 12 because, well, let's be honest, the SEC is clinched. It's Georgia, Bama. Get your tickets, get your popcorn, get your posters. But the ACC, oh, brother. Next weekend, Miami, it's winner take all. We win next weekend, we get to play Florida State. We lose, we got to pray for a Carolina loss. And tonight, we needed a Carolina loss, and we did not get it. Dadgummit, Duke. You could have helped us out, but you didn't. Go ahead, Jackson. You're on mute, good buddy. The good people can't hear you at home.
Oh, impressive win by Louisville Thursday night against Virginia. I was sad to see that they almost lost, but, then again, at least you didn't play them on CW.
That is true. 31-24. I'll briefly touch on it. And honestly,
CW curse got broke.
Yes. We'll touch on this real fast. Congratulations to NC State. And by the way, NC State, thank you for keeping up winning. Makes our win look better over you to the committee. But go ahead, Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that Brennan Armstrong had a pretty good game. 96 rushing yards, 1 touchdown for rushing, 15 carries, 1 passing touchdown, 111 passing yards, 12 of 17 completed passes. Oh, not bad, kiddo. Not bad. 26 points. Good gracious. I mean, that North Carolina State defense looked pretty impressive. I mean, they only allowed 7 rushing yards and they forced 2 turnovers.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, the CW curse got broken today. That's a plus. Ooh.
There you go. We're going to cover
North
that
Carolina.
North Carolina. Ooh.
Yeah, so for anyone that's not in the ACC loop, which obviously I am because I am a Louisville fan, if you all cannot tell by the way I act to some things. So what's at stake is if Carolina would have lost this game tonight to Duke, we would have clinched, and it would have been us, Florida State, and we would have been like Bama, Georgia. We would have known our destiny. But since Duke could not get the win, we've got more football to be played, especially next weekend against Miami, because we need one more win. Carolina needs us to lose one more, and they went out there in. So, makes for very interesting scenarios. But as for this game here tonight, like, I just got to ask the question, Jackson. If Riley Leonard was healthy and playing, does Carolina still find a way to win this game?
That would be a toss-up, honestly. I mean, I think, if it's like this big a toss-up tonight, I probably would pick Duke if they had Riley Leonard.
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, what a game this was, though. Look, because I watched the entire thing with all the implications involved in it, and it was a great game. I took my blinders off, and I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this unbiased, not root for one or the other, try to be unbiased. And, Duke played a heck of a game, but Carolina just made more plays. Drake May did his thing. And Duke, Tremont Waters, I think's how you say his name, had a nice night on the ground. Duke's a nice football team. I think they'll be okay without Riley Leonard, especially if they can get the running game going. I think they'll be fine, especially when Riley Leonard's ready to go pro.
Well, we got the last two games of Duke's schedule. I mean, they got Virginia and Pitt. So, I mean, got pretty good practice games for the bowl game. So, but as for North Carolina, they're fighting for that second spot, of course. So what they got to do is hope for Louisville to lose next Saturday against Miami. And they got to win out, especially on the road against Clemson and North Carolina State. But my advice, for any team in all college football, pros, anybody in general, don't put yourself in a position where somebody has to lose for you to benefit.
So, real quick, like my anxiety level is going to be off the roof this coming week because it's this week, Jackson. We have to treat this as a mentality as it's winner take all. It's basically we cannot rely on Clemson or NC State to beat Carolina. We just can't. We have to take care of business ourselves. We cannot say, oh, Clemson or NC State will take care of that for us. No, we have to treat the Miami game as this is it. We don't win this, we don't go to the title game. We have to treat it like our life depends on it. That we have to treat it like there is no tomorrow. And I love this team to death, but this is the best chance we've got. And that's saying a lot because we had Lamar Jackson. And this team here, the fact that we're this close on the cusp of greatness, boy, oh boy. And Jackson just had her schedule pulled up. Next weekend, we have Miami on the road, but then we have Kentucky. So North Carolina's got all the pressure because they still have 2 games. So even if we do lose, they can't say, oh, we only got 1 conference game too. As long as we win, we're good. No, you don't. You still got NC State on rivalry week. And you don't think the Wolfpack would look back and say, why don't we spoil North Carolina's hopes? Why don't we? I mean, that's what every rival wants to do. And, Jackson, Auburn in a couple of weeks, they're going to look at you and say, Bama's going to the SEC title game, but why don't we ruin the national title hopes for them? Why don't we make them cry? But not to get too far off track, but just to say I'm passionate about this team. I love my team. I want to see us do good. Next weekend, big game. Let's get it done, guys, please. For my sake and all of Louisville's sake.
Get it done for Austin. Get it done for Austin. But you got nothing to
Please.
worry about because it's gonna be 11 a.m. at my time and noon your time. I think North Carolina's going to do a lot more worrying for sure because they're going to be like, tell me Louisville's losing. Tell me Louisville's losing. Scarp that. Yes, Louisville's losing. I'm like, okay, dude, chill. Easy for you to say. We're playing for a spot in second place.
I will say though, Jackson, we this was a very impactful Saturday, but Jackson, Northwestern, even though they had nothing to play for, championship wise, can we officially say, you know what? I'm gonna let you get to this because I think we owe Northwestern an apology for what we said about this team in the offseason. Go ahead.
I mean, all of us owe Northwestern an apology. I mean, it's just good grief. But something else on the line, that bowl streak of Wisconsin. And, the one and only Mark Rogers of the Voice College Football pointing out that if Wisconsin does not win one of their next two games, Nebraska or Minnesota, they will come up short in bowl eligibility, and it'll be the first time in a long time that they've come up short since like the Barry Alvarez era. Good grief. 21 straight years. So it'll be the first time since 01 that they've come up short of a bowl game if they miss. So Wisconsin better step it up. But in the meantime, congratulations to Northwestern and everyone in Evanston,
Yes.
Illinois.
Now, here's a good question. Who does Northwestern have left on their schedule? Because I believe they're 5-5. They need one more win.
Illinois.
Ooh, bowl eligibility is in their grasp, and we all know how Purdue is.
I think
they're not very good this year.
I think the Big Ten West just like handed the division title to Iowa. They're just like, here, you deserve it. Bye.
Yes, I 100% agree. Everyone was like, who wants to play Ohio State or Michigan? They're like, not me. Yeah. No, you go play them. No, you go play them. Iowa, here, you have it. No, we don't want to. Here, Rutgers. I mean, not Rutgers. Here, Northwestern. Even though you're terrible, let's blow the game to you. Maybe you could get up there. No, Nebraska. How about you? And they're like, Iowa. Your offense is pitiful anyway.
There you go, mophead. How about you go play Iowa? Now, when I say go, we'll all point to the right. Go!
But speaking of Iowa, how did they do today? Did they try to give it away again, or did they get it done?
Over-under on Iowa Rutgers was 27.5. Guess how many points were scored in today's game as a whole? 22 points! Oh, man. Personally, I said on Twitter today, I'd be merciful on this game by putting it at the over-under at 24 points. Got close.
Yeah. I don't know whether to congratulate Iowa for another shutout or be very concerned. Their offense is abysmal. Maybe you can explain it, Jackson, with your numbers. Go ahead. Well, Jackson's on mute again, folks.
Oh, I'm back again. I forgot. Sorry. I thought I was unmuted. But glad I could answer your question about how Iowa could have such a great day. Iowa's quarterback having 223 passing yards. Shocker, right? 20 of 31 completed passes, 1 touchdown. Ah, man. It's impressive.
I mean, and Rutgers is still bowl eligible. There always is that. But
Yeah,
here,
I say be thankful for the little thing.
I will say though, Jackson, another team that will not be bowl eligible, and shout out to our good buddy from Only Talk, Jeffrey from Only Talk Sports. His Indiana Hoosiers will not be going bowling this year. Once again, they failed to make bowl eligibility as a 48-45 overtime loss.
Here's
Go ahead,
the thing that
Jackson.
shocked me. This was like a Big 12 game, not like a defensive slugfest in the Big 10. I mean, everything's a little topsy turvy, and I mean, the odds makers even agreed. I mean, they had the over under being 43.5 total points. They didn't think it was going to be 93 total points. Well, more than double. Way more than over. But a big win for Brett Bielema and the Fighting Illini.
True, it was a very big win. And, I'm sad for Indiana, after pulling off such a big win over Wisconsin and then losing it. But it's college football. You can't mourn. Mourn. Great win for Illinois. But, Jackson, speaking of
the hot seat talk on Tom Allen, I mean, I know there were some discussions on that. I mean, the fact they had to make a mid-season firing at OC basically told me he's in big trouble. But, I mean, can he be able to cool the seat off with 2 wins against Michigan State, Purdue? That we will have to see. As for Illinois, they are 1 win away from bowl eligibility. I mean, I don't think they're winning any fans at Connect Stadium, let's be honest. So the most likely win is probably against Northwestern.
And speaking of hot seat talk, I just recently put out a couple videos on a couple coaches that were on the hot seat. And that was Mr. Dino Babers and Sam Pittman, which I will leave those videos down below. But Jackson, how did those 2 coaches do today? Did they cool their seats any, or are they getting spicy hot? How did Mr. Dino Babers do? Oh my gosh. Syracuse won. Jackson's so excited he was muted. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dino Babers and Syracuse Orange, they were able to get the job done, shockingly, at Yankee Stadium, none other the less. The passing game's no good. But how about that rushing game? Good Lord.
I mean, very true. I mean, but once again, Pittsburgh, once again, shooting themselves in the foot. But I will say, though, Jackson, do you think Dino Babers' seat has cooled any, or is it heating up?
He has to win at least 1 more game. He has to make sure Syracuse wins at least 1 more game for bowl eligibility. But then we're going to find out on Black Sunday, which I believe Black Sunday will be November 26th. And we're going to find out whether he's fired or if he's got that vote of confidence for 2024. And most of the time when you got a vote of confidence, that means you're on the hot seat for next season, buddy. And most likely, you're basically on a make it or break it for at least the next 4 to 5 games to start off next season.
So very true there, Jackson. But I will say, though, he could very potentially cool his hot seat. But Jackson, what about Mr. Sam Pittman?
Oh,
Because SEC country can be very brutal sometimes and very unwavering. Did he
that
get a
makes me
win to
feel.
possibly? Oh, go ahead.
This makes me feel like Black Sunday is coming tomorrow for Arkansas. Possibly. I'm not saying it will. I'm not saying it won't. But this is SEC country, and it's pretty crazy.
Holy Hannah Batman Jackson, am I seeing that right? 48-10.
Yes,
Jackson,
you
are
are,
you sure
friend.
this was it? Are you
Yep,
sure this
that's
was
right.
this year?
I'm positive, friend Robin.
Rot Raggy. I think Sam Pittman. I think he's out of Scooby Snacks. Oh, Arkansas! Did you even come to play today? Good groogly moogly, Robin. Oh Lord.
Oh,
I saw the first quarter and it was competitive, and then I guess Auburn decided that they were going to make sure he was going to get fired after today. Good googly moogly, Sam Pittman. Do you not understand you're an SEC country? You can't be losing games like this, son. Arkansas, have you booted out that door? Have you booted out that door quicker than a $2 snake bag on a Sunday? Good grief.
You know how Pittman always says, turn that damn jukebox on. Well, we're going to have to say, turn down that jukebox, unfortunately, because it is not looking pretty, folks. It is not looking pretty.
Ain't that the truth?
And the scariest part is not the art of what we know. It's always the art of what we don't know.
Oh, Lord. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, a lot of this talk is happening because Sam Pittman's not winning this year. And a lot of Arkansas fans are getting frustrated that they're not beating the team above me, Alabama, as Jackson is sporting tonight, I think. And they're not beating LSU and Ole Miss and Georgia on consistent basis when they play them. And a lot of Arkansas fans are getting very upset but apparently they can't even beat Auburn half the time anymore. I mean, this is just what a fall from heaven.
I mean, forget not being able to beat Auburn. I mean, that loss to Mississippi State earlier in the year. Oh, man.
I mean, can they at least go 5-7 now? Is there a path for that? Maybe it'll.
Yeah, they can go 5-7. But I hope they got a good. I hope they got a good APR.
Good googly moogly. But I will say though, on a better note though, Jackson, how did Missouri do today? Did they bounce back? Did Eli Drinkwitz prove that he was no fluke?
Oh man. I will say, like, before we get to that, Auburn is now bowl eligible with a victory over Arkansas. And as for Missouri, Tennessee, the question is Tennessee a fraud? Did they prove they were a fraud in the Florida game, or are they a fraud after the Missouri game?
36-7. Good gravy. Jackson, like I said in the intro, there was a lot of blowouts today and a lot of very interesting results, and this was one of them. Apparently, Missouri is legit. I mean, other than that, even when they played Georgia close, you learned a lot about this team, and here we are once again, 36-7. My, oh my.
Let's look at the team stats. See, oh, 3 turnovers made by Tennessee. Missouri's forcing them. That explains so much.
But I will say though, congratulations to Missouri on an 8-2 season and possibly clinching a 10-2 season if they can win out. Would be very big time for Eli Drinkwitz after very hot seat talk. And
Yeah.
and it would make mine and Jackson's take of them going 3-9 look even worse. So,
well, we're probably on freezing cold tape on Twitter real soon.
but as for our Missouri fans and Locked On Missouri, if you happen to see that, don't take no offense to it. We weren't thinking. We didn't see what you all saw. So just don't mind us. Just skip over that one if you can.
Yeah. But just know we've learned from the error of our ways. Speaking of someone that looks like they're learning from the error of their ways, looks like USC, maybe they're making a comeback. Who knows? We just gotta hope that defense can bail them out, which
yes,
they don't have the Grinch.
And you know, now Jackson, before we head on out of here, I would like to give this team some love. Oh, good googly moogly. Arizona State. Yep. Okay, hold on. We have a new topic to talk about. Jackson, my good assistant, please put that up on the screen because we have to talk about that now. I was going to talk about College Game Day next week real fast before we got out of here, but apparently Arizona State wants to give us headlines now.
Yeah. Well, okay. Arizona State's got nothing to lose. UCLA, unfortunately, they really had nothing to play for. They were thinking more about USC than they were this game, just like last year against Arizona. And it's right here in the Rose Bowl, the grand day of the bowl.
Jackson, now, okay, let me compose myself. 64% attendance. So that doesn't surprise me. But anywho, Jackson, is Arizona State better than we thought? Maybe. I mean, because they almost beat Washington. I mean, they put up 28 points on USC, which Alex Grinch would be part of the reason why. But is Arizona State better than UCLA? I mean, not better than UCLA. That's a stupid question. But is Arizona State better than we think? Go ahead, Jackson.
Well, I mean, we're definitely going to see what they're going to bring next year for the Big 12. I mean, they really have nothing to play for. I mean, they were already banning themselves from a bowl anyhow due to NCAA violations. So they're basically playing for pride, really.
True. But speaking of bans, Jackson, College Game Day next weekend, James Madison, Appalachian State, they're coming to your city. And James Madison, congrats on a 10-0 season. Let's give the Dukes some love, shall we?
Yep.
Let's give them a little love today.
That is for sure. But I do wish Game Day had shown a little more respect to Corvallis, Oregon. I mean, I get James Madison's going through the FBS transition from the FCS. I mean, they're having like a bad day or like a bad, they're getting kind of screwed over for the short term. But why not throw a bone to Corvallis, Oregon? I mean, that's not much. I mean, we don't know what the future is for Oregon State. I mean, come on. And they're playing for a shot at the Pac-12 title. So let's go over a little bit for the Pac-12. With Oregon likely winning against USC or, pending the outcome, we see that Oregon, they don't have Arizona. Utah's likely out. And Oregon State, they basically just have to win out to earn a spot in the Pac-12 title. As for Arizona,
Yes.
they got to beat Utah. They got to beat Arizona State, of course. But they need Arizona State to do them a solid next Saturday, and Oregon State do them a solid if Oregon wins tonight. But if USC just somehow makes a comeback tonight, Arizona's got a lot of luck they're gonna need. They're gonna need UCLA to bail them out. And I forgot Arizona's got Utah on their schedule, so how could I forget that, Billy?
But it should be very interesting, to say the least, because I believe if Washington wins next week, I believe they clinch a spot, at least a spot. But should be interesting. But should be very interesting. Now, one interesting thing before we head on out of here, and I want to get your opinion on this, Jackson. Who's your favorite to win the Heisman right now? Who are your 3 finalists? Put you on the spot.
I only got one man, one name. Michael Penix Jr., baby. Michael Penix Jr.
I will say, I think it's Marvin Harrison Jr.
Ooh. There we go.
Now, let's take a look at the Big Ten. Speaking of that, because we know Ohio State, Michigan, but has Iowa clinched?
Basically, they clinched a share of the Big Ten West Division. But if they beat Illinois next Saturday, they officially clinched the West Division.
Interesting. But should be very interesting for this upcoming week. Next week is Cupcake Week, which means Alabama, Georgia's, the Ole Misses, a lot of them are going to be playing cupcakes. So we probably will not be talking about them much next week. But we do have some good headliner games.
The thing about college football is every time there's a sloppy week ahead of us, we got some big upsets coming up next week. I just wonder which one of them we're going to cover. But stay tuned to find out next Saturday night.
Yeah, most certainly. And before we get out here, though, make sure y'all hit the like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell on both of our channels, because we're doing really great work. I've got a couple things coming up. I've got previews and AP poll reaction coming out very soon on my channel with Sports Talk with Austin. Jackson, promote away on what you got, good buddy. The great content you're producing over at your channel. Let the people know what you're up to.
I've got some Jacksonian episodes coming up, but I've been recovering, last week due to getting allergy attacks, but I'm back on the mend. I'm feeling a lot better. I'm 100% and I'm rolling. I'm a new man. And tomorrow night I'll be on College Football After Dark on The Voice College Football, discussing our daily takes on what's going on in the college football world. And it's going to be a fun night. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, everybody. Thanks for being here. And just remember, it's always Louisville. Just remember that.
And it's always going to be the Crimson Tide getting out that belt for the SEC and giving a spanking real soon. We're coming to your city, Athens, but in Atlanta. Stick around.